Welcome to the EOB podcast where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Binh and joining me is Senh Dong. So, Senh, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I think Pan surpassed our, not surpassed, but the opposite of surpass, even our lowest
Yeah,
expectations.
yeah, it went below our most pessimistic
Yeah,
projection. Yeah, it just didn't do that well. But we'll get to it.
yeah,
We'll get to the movie.
yeah, we'll get to it.
It was the lone new wide release last weekend, and Warner Brothers hoped, because the movie cost 150 million, hoped that it would do well or do maybe a tad better than what it did. But yeah,
But this is John Carter level
yes,
stink
yes.
bomb.
All right, well, we'll save it for when we get
Yeah,
to
we'll
it.
see.
All right, let's jump right into
Okay, go.
the weekend box office. With The Martian repeating at number one, it made 37 million. It experienced a pretty low 32% drop off from its debut, and a total right now after 2 weeks is 108 million.
Yeah, which matches its budget
Mm-hmm.
of yeah, and it made it in 2 weeks, and it's holding up really well for a film that opened so huge. 32% drop off. No, for a film that opened to what 57 million, or was it a little bit lower? But either way, 32% drop off is a really good hold.
Yes, it opened to 54, not 57, but still pretty
Okay,
good.
yeah,
Like an awesome number.
yeah,
I think we were projecting it to be in the 30 to 40 range, and it did
yeah,
way better. And
yeah,
the hold is amazing too. It's second weekend drop. You would expect somewhere, maybe typically it's in the 40s. If it's good.
yeah. 40, 50, yeah,
Yeah, 32% is really good.
yeah. This means has a very good word of mouth,
A good amount.
and
The reviews are awesome, right?
yeah, the reviews are awesome. 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. This will probably be one of Matt Damon's biggest hits.
Mm-hmm.
I think his biggest hit was the Born Ultimatum. Wait, what's the second one?
Oh God.
I think the second one was oh no, the third one. Yeah, Born Ultimatum was the highest grossing. I think the highest grossing Born movie made like 264 million or somewhere around there.
Domestic?
And The Martian, yeah, domestic. And The Martian, if it continues to hold up this well, can possibly maybe reach that figure.
We can see that from the drop in the second weekend. This movie's gonna hold pretty well because of its, I think, family-friendly nature. It's a sci-fi movie, but it's not like exactly one of those scary thrillers. And that I can see the family crowd going to this one, and with family movies, I'm kind of lumping this one into it. Those tend to hold pretty well week after week.
I wouldn't lump this into a family film because I saw it over the weekend and I took my nephews there,
Mm-hmm.
and they all thought it was pretty boring. One of them fell asleep.
Okay.
I say it's more for more mature audiences because a lot of this stuff kind of goes over the kids' heads, young kids anyway. And it is a more, even though it costs 108 million, it's kind of like a documentary style film, and it goes for realism. There's a lot of similarities to Apollo 13 as a movie, and I was entertained. The focus is definitely on realism and science, and not very gaudy, not very show-offy. It's just
Right.
they try to go for realism. It appeals to more mature audiences because I think most kids would be bored, like my nephews.
My family also watched the movie over the weekend, and they liked it. And I can see there are parts where it's slow.
Yeah.
So that might be it. It might be too long for kids. The reason I'm saying that I lumped it into the family portion is that there's nothing really objectionable to it.
Yeah, except for that scene of Matt Damon's, ass after he's, already lost a lot of weight.
Right. But that's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think maybe teens would be more appropriate.
I think teens could be interested, but again, teens are more into thrills, and this is not really a thrilling movie, you could say.
There are some thrilling scenes, I guess.
I'm sure, but I think teens, the teens I'm thinking about are probably more into the R-rated stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, you're thinking this appeals to a family audience.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like it's probably a little bit older
No, no, I'm saying it's the low drop off. There certainly will be teens into this. I mean, but
Yeah.
it reaches across a diverse group of people, of audience. That's why the
Yeah,
drop off
I'm
is
not.
low.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that though, because not every film with low drop-offs mean that there's a family audience involved. Some even adult films that are well reviewed have good word of mouth. That doesn't appeal to kids have low drop-offs. There is probably an element, but I think it's just more the film, the reviews, great word of mouth, and the demographic is probably a little bit older than let's say Hotel Transylvania, for instance. Like the only reason why I brought my nephews there was because they heard that we're going and they're like, no, we want to go too. And then as it turned out, they were all kind of like.
Oh yeah, they probably want to see some green men.
Yeah, right.
Not that type of
Okay.
Martian.
Yeah, not that kind of Martian. Yeah. I guess that's a good segue into Hotel Transylvania too, because
Okay.
I think that's a film that my nephews would probably appreciate more than The Martian.
Yeah, the Hotel Transylvania 2 came in number 2, made 20.4 million. It also experienced the lowest drop off of around 38.5%. And in its third weekend, it made 116 million.
This drop off is actually higher than the second week because the second weekend it held up really well, like low 30%. But still, this is not bad, and it's still ahead of what the previous film made. So this looks like it could make in the 160, 170 range when it's all said and done. Yeah, because the first one made 154.
But it'll do pretty well overseas. Remember, as the Sony exec said, it became one of the beloved franchises.
Beloved.
History, right?
In the history of animation. Even though if you compare the grosses and the reviews, it's probably in the low tier.
Yeah, this is not like Pixar and Disney level. This is, I'm not sure if it's even DreamWorks level, right?
No, it's not even DreamWorks level.
Right, even though DreamWorks
this is more like
trouble itself. Yeah.
This is more like I don't know who are the people who maybe Universal now has the Minions, so and Sony has always I guess maybe Sony level they have the Ice Age films.
No, I think Ice Age is Fox.
Yeah, maybe Fox level.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, just kind of like Fox, they're not a prolific producer of animation. Right. It's just like once a couple of years, there will be an animation from one of their affiliates.
Yeah, so maybe in their terms it's beloved. Yeah. Well, they want people to think it's Toy Story and Shrek.
Of course.
But it's not. Yeah.
Right. But hey, of course we'll be seeing Hotel Transylvania 3 because it's doing very well, even though it's kind of lowish on the lower end of what I guess a first tier animation would make, like the Pixars and the Disneys. But you could say that hey, it is a franchise now.
Right.
It made more than the first movie. It's gonna make more worldwide as well. So hey.
Yeah. Let's move on to the debut of the weekend. Pan, the Peter Pan prequel, starring Hugh Jackman and budgeted at 150 million. And it's going to be one of the biggest bombs of the year. It only grossed 15 million over the weekend. In relative terms, this is John Carter level bomb. Because at a budget of 150 million, like we were talking about last week, I was saying it needs to open in the 50 to 60 million range just to reach 150 million domestically. 15 million is way below that.
Last week we said, I said the movie would do somewhere in the 35 to 40 range. You said 45. 15 is nowhere close to those numbers.
Yeah. Well, I guess what we said last week was right. There is something odd about the trailer. It's kind of dark and it doesn't seem like it appeals to the family audience that is targeting. I guess that's what everyone sees too.
Yeah, see, the thing is, as you said, Warner Brothers tried to make everything darker. They tried to make Peter Pan begin, right?
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what we said last week too, that, making things dark work for the Dark Knight is appropriate for Batman because he is dark. But just because you have one really successful film, by making things dark, it works for Batman, but it doesn't work for everything. Superman is not dark. Superman is bright and colorful. But with the next Superman, because they added Batman to it, it could be dark. But Peter Pan should be bright and colorful.
Yeah, see, this is not the Peter Pan that people know. And I'm sure that they
Yeah,
want to create an untold story. That's the rage right now.
yeah,
It's like whatever untold.
yeah,
It's like an alternate take of what happened or what
yeah,
what happened in the story that we know and love, right? But
yeah.
it kind of goes against what people are expecting from a Peter Pan movie.
Right, right,
Like
right.
with this dark thing and all these, and there, I guess there was this one sequence where I think people would think it's silly. It's like these pirates singing Nirvana, "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Oh yeah, I
Like,
heard about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of that song is like, "Here we are now, entertain us." Da, 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 da. That song.
Oh, right, right,
That
right.
was also in Moulin Rouge. So it's kind of weird and it's kind of out of place in our character.
Yeah. Sometimes I think everyone wants to make these old classics edgier, but something like Peter Pan, you don't have to make it edgier because we have special effects now. You can just make the Peter Pan that everyone knows and love, except with modern technology, you can make a very good version of that. You finally have the technology to do all that fantastic elements. You don't need the darkness and the edginess. Kind of like Jurassic Park. They didn't need to darken it up. They just kept it bright like the first one and kept it entertaining. And, sometimes that's all you need.
Oh, here's a troubling thing.
Yeah.
I believe that Warner Brother is doing a movie, their own version of the Jungle Book.
Their own version of the Jungle Book?
Yeah, I think
that's not Disney?
No, Disney is doing one too.
Oh, okay. The Disney one I thought looked fantastic. Looks great.
Yeah, but Warner Brothers, I believe, is also doing a version.
How did they get the rights?
It's in the
public domains. Oh, so
yeah.
Everyone can do it.
Yes, but they just couldn't use what Disney used. Whatever. I'm sure something is copyrighted. Everything. Like singing bears.
Let's hope they don't do Jungle Book Begins.
They might. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's troubling. They might do Jungle Book Begins. But we'll see. We'll see.
I think sometimes you just have to go with what the material calls for instead of just because you have one successful franchise, the Batman series, doesn't mean that kind of filmmaking should be applied to every other movie that you make.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, they got into their head. Maybe say that's what people are looking for, like dark, gritty material, and they want to apply it to their movies. And I think Pan is having the people, in cold sweat because hey, it's not.
Yeah, it depends on the movie.
Right. It makes them question the strategy.
Rightfully.
Right. Like we say, the box office will tell Warner Brothers if their decision is right or wrong, and clearly, that's the wrong way to go.
Yeah.
So let's move on to number 4, The Intern. It made 8.6 million over the weekend in its third week. It's closing in on 50 million.
The drop-off is only 26%, the lowest of any movie in the top 10. It's holding up amazingly well for a film that opened at 17, 18 million. It's already near 50 million. And I think the budget was only about 30 million. Again, for some reason, the director Nancy Meyers, she produces hit after hit, and they always have the same kind of legginess. They all open modestly well, and then they all have a very low drop-offs week after week, and they stay in theaters for a while, and eventually they make 70 to 100 million.
Yeah, you sometimes have to question why she isn't doing more movies.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe she just focuses on one movie at a time, and she's able to make the kind of movie that she wants to make. The Intern wasn't that well reviewed, but for her audience, she knows how to craft something that appeals to them, and she takes her time.
I don't think that's it.
Right.
Well, personally, I wasn't that high on the movie, but I'm sure there's an audience for these type of movies, right? But speaking to Myers, right? She made her debut in 1998 with The Pen Trap, and since then she made 5 movies after The Pen Trap. It could be that, like some other woman directors say, hey, Hollywood is not kind to women directors.
Oh, meaning she has trouble getting movies made?
Yeah.
It could be, or it could just be she's like one of those directors who only pop up with a movie every now and then.
Well, who knows?
There were a decent number of directors who work. Well, actually, that's not bad. She makes a movie every 2 to 3 years. That's actually kind of average for directors.
No, there's gaps like between the intern and her last movie. It's complicated. It's like 2009 and 2015.
Oh yeah. There's a 6 year gap, but before that, she's pretty consistent though. A movie every 2 to 3 years. I guess she just took a James Cameron break.
Oh, she went fishing too, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, she went fishing.
Or read more novels, romance novels, to make these movies to get inspired.
Or whatever women do. That's the woman equivalent of fishing, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Let's head on to number 5, Sicario. It made 7.6 million. Experienced a 8% drop off. And is this the second or third weekend that it went into
why? I think the second weekend it went wide. Yeah.
Okay, second weekend that went wide, and it just barely made about 27 million.
It's not holding up as well as we expected, and it's not doing as well as we were expecting, I think.
Well, I'd say that this movie wouldn't hold. It is really a darker message movie, I think. Even though there are action scenes in it, it's kind of like it reminds me of that movie Traffic. It didn't do that well. Has all these great reviews, but it just didn't do that well. It didn't appeal to audience.
Well, I think they consider Traffic because it was modestly budgeted. They consider that to be a decent sized hit, though.
It did okay.
Actually, it did really well. It made 124 million.
Yeah, but I think at that time, I believe it just didn't. I think it didn't live up to people's expectation, or is it just mine?
No. It did.
Okay,
It didn't open huge, but it actually held up really, really well.
Okay, it's just my memory then.
Yeah, just your memory. Yeah, it ended up. It was actually very leggy. It was one of those films that opened limited and then opened wide, made about as much as Sicario. But week after week, the drop off was like 10%, 20%, sometimes 2%.
Oh, okay.
So Sicario, I mean, yeah, you're right. It could be, it does have that similar type of feel, except maybe it's a little bit more action packed. But it doesn't have that kind of legs, though, despite the great reviews it's getting.
Right, but to be fair, Traffic does have Michael Douglas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Don Cheadle.
Yep.
Goes on and on.
The who's who of Oscar caliber actors.
Right.
It'll probably make maybe 40 to 50 million, and that's not too bad considering its budget is only about 30 million. So it'll make money for Lionsgate. I think people will probably, because of the great reviews and the Oscar buzz, people were probably expecting it to hold up a little bit better, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, maybe.
But it's not holding yet.
Yeah, perhaps the Oscar buzz is coming, from Lionsgate itself.
Right. We're just regurgitating what they're telling the
Right. And I don't think at this point, I'm not sure if Sicario has any chance of winning anything. I don't know.
Could be. You could be right. Yeah. It could just be one of those good thrillers, solid, well-made thrillers that on Oscar caliber, but just well-made film.
And I think
93% on it. Yeah.
Right. In limited release, it did really well. Right. The per-screen average was really high, but then once it went wide, it's just like the interest just wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, maybe they should have kept it in limited release for a little bit longer, just to build up more buzz.
Perhaps.
Who knows? All right. Let's move on to number 6. The Maze Runner, the Scorch trials made 5.4 million this weekend. It's actually holding up better now. 31% drop off. After 4 weeks in release, it has made 71 million domestically. It's still not going to do as well as the first film, but it's doing, I guess, modestly well. Solid numbers.
Well, it's doing very good numbers considering overseas.
Oh, yeah. Worldwide, it's made about 239 million. So at a budget of 61 million, that's 4 times its budget. So that's pretty good, like you said.
Yeah. It seems like the series has lost steam here, a bit. right?
Yeah.
But it's doing quite well overseas. I think, because this is a Thai movie that was made for overseas, like they don't need to any stars really. The special effects are the stars, and the actions are the stars. So this is the Thai movie that would do really well overseas.
And it kind of has that same divergent, like the second divergent also lost some steam, and this seems like it's following the same track.
Which is okay considering, hey.
Yeah, which is okay, yeah.
Remember, it's the overseas component. Even though it lost steam here, they're happy, very happy that, hey, there's that overseas market to tap into.
Right. And they kept their budget relatively low for this kind of movie.
Okay, let's move on to number 7, The Walk. It made 3.7 million in its second weekend. It expanded, but the results weren't that great. Remember you say that it did only okay-ish in its debut in the IMAX theaters? Yeah, but then the second weekend it went in general availability, and it's not good for this movie.
Yeah, and even at a relatively modest budget of 35 million, it's gonna lose money. And that's too bad because it's pretty well reviewed. I guess people just don't care. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, even though it's a well-made movie. It's just one of those films that people just have no interest in watching.
Yeah, you could say that it's about a guy who pulled stunt back in the, I don't know, was it the 70s or something like that?
Yeah.
Who did a high wire walk across the Twin Towers.
Right.
And I'm sure it's gripping. But it's just not the same as maybe The Martian or more action-packed stuff.
Right. I mean, I saw the documentary, but still, I'm not sure if this is the type of movie that has a mainstream interest.
Right. It's not like I'm gonna come to you and say, "Hey, let's watch The Walk."
Yeah, let's watch this guy walk from one end of the Twin Towers to the other.
Right. Well, the thing is, we know what happened, right? He made it.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler, so why watch it, right? It's one of those type of movies,
Yeah, and why? I guess people are like, this is a kind of thing that might be better as a documentary because when you watch a documentary, it's real.
And you interview, and they got real people talking about it, right? Who was there?
Yeah, and you see the real thing happening, the footage of the real thing happening. That's a lot more impressive than watching it in a movie where that there's Hollywood, there's special effects, there's all this stuff. It almost makes it less impressive because like with Hollywood, there's a feeling of it's not real, it's computer generated and it's actors. Kind of like Everest too, where when the documentary is probably more impressive just because it's real and you're there, and when you're watching a movie, you're like, it makes it less impressive because that there's CGI and all that stuff there. I mean, it's kind of cheesy to say, but it's not as realistic.
Right. Really, the main problem is that it's just a subject that, this is a movie that no one wanted.
Yeah. And plus, I think in terms of format, this is the kind of movie where the documentary format is more effective because it's real, and you watch some guy walk across the Twin Towers and it's real footage. That's more impressive than watching a Hollywood reproduction of it.
Right. All right, let's move on to number 8, Black Mass. Mm-hmm. Made 3.1 million, experienced a 47% drop off in its fourth week. It made about 57 million so far.
At a budget of 53 million. Again, it's well reviewed, and because of Johnny Depp's performance, and because this is following a string of big budget bombs. This is a decent figure. It's gonna make money for WB, and it's got critical acclaim, but it's not up as well as I think people in the industry are expecting.
Relatively speaking, it did okay.
I think it did okay.
It didn't do
not great.
Pirates. Yeah, it didn't do Pirates of the Caribbean level movie. But when you're talking about a movie that's gonna make money, hey, it's gonna make money. This movie, what they're really trying to do is trying to get awards. I mean, this movie will probably get an awards bump. Well, once they got hopefully once they got nominated, they're gonna probably release it in theaters again, saying, "Hey, come see, this Johnny Depp in the Oscar-nominated performance or whatever," and they'll try to get extract more money from there. And hey, it's directed by a well-regarded director, Scott Cooper, who did Out of the Furnace, Crazy Heart, right, and of course Johnny Depp and others. All right, yeah. Speaking of Everest, it came in number 9 with about 3 million in its 4th week. And it's made 38 million so far, and the budget is 55.
This might actually lose a little bit of money for Universal.
Oh, before we get to that, I just want to point out that remember the last podcast? If we were wondering if The Martian was released in IMAX theaters, no, it wasn't. I checked.
Oh, okay, it wasn't. Okay.
Okay.
Wow, which is even more impressive that it is holding up so well. So the Everest is even doing slightly lower than, well, I guess it's Jake Gyllenhaal numbers, typical Jake Gyllenhaal numbers. But so now they know.
Yeah, but
now
the budget,
Jake Gyllenhaal, 30 million budget is the max you can go if you want to make money.
Exactly. Remember we say that the it's going to do typical, maybe it's going to do around 50 million, right? But the budget is higher than a typical Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Yeah, right. Now they know that you put Jake Gyllenhaal in a movie, 30 million budget if you want to make money.
Right. They haven't figured out. They haven't figured out mathematical formula.
Yeah. He also made that desert movie based on a video game. It's based on a video game.
Oh, Prince of Persia.
Yeah, Prince of Persia. Yeah.
Oh, that Prince of Persia. It's made for 200 million. It made about 91 million domestic, but worldwide is 336.
So that's not bad.
Yeah.
So that's not great. The 200 million is losing money.
Yeah, that's why we didn't see a Prince of Persia 2.
Yeah. I was gonna say even if you up the budget, it's still gonna go typical Jake Gyllenhaal gross. But I guess even after they up the budget to 200 million, it still only managed 91 million.
Right.
In the US.
It did a tad better, mainly because I think of the Prince of Persia brand and not because of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Right. Probably the combination. Jake Gyllenhaal will get you the 50 million. The other 40 million is for the video game, video game. But that's it. It doesn't go any higher.
Right. They are rebooting Prince of Persia. I'm sure they started work on it, but I'm not sure when another one will be coming. As we say,
maybe Jake Gyllenhaal is just not the right guy for it. Prince of Persia seems something that's more like the Mummy without the horror elements. Something that Brendan Fraser back in the day actually did well in.
Right. Well, Jake Gyllenhaal is that guy, right? The 30 million guy. He's that $30 million movie guy. You put him in those kind of movie, it's gonna do okay.
But you put him in something with higher budget, that's kind of outside of his draw. Right.
You put someone better than him into Prince of Persia, I'm sure he'll do better than that 90 million.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about us putting down Jake Gyllenhaal. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. Well, we're not putting him down. It's just if you can regularly make $50 million at the box office, that's really good. As long as you don't go over budget, right?
Yeah. You just don't put him in a role that he's not suited for. That's what any actor.
Yeah.
Or trying to put him as the star in a 200 million movie. It's not going to work out.
Right. Let me see. Number 10, The Visit. Holding up quite well. 2.5 million over the weekend. 61 million total domestic. At a budget of 5 million, as we said, this is one of probably the most profitable movie in the top 10, and decent, okay reviews for horror film. Decent reviews for horror film. Kind of like a comeback movie for M. Night Shyamalan.
And as a horror film, it did exceedingly well. 61 million.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Low budget. And even though it's by M. Night, who is a name himself, it's pretty good. And it's also a quiet 61 million too. I mean, fifth week, even though it didn't open that well, it did okay, right? And then it held on. It's low drop-off-ish. It didn't experience the normal horror movie drop off, which is in the high 50s, 60s range.
Anything outside the top 10 that pops
Oh
out at
yes,
you?
the Steve Jobs movie. It was the
Open in 4 theaters.
Mhm.
Made about $500,000 at a per screen average of 130,000. That's really high for a limited release. That bodes well for the film, although the budget is 30 million, which is kind of high for an indie movie. But hey, it does have a who's who of indie filmmaking. It has Michael Fassbender, stars Kate Winslet, Jeff Daniels, Seth Rogen, and it's written by Aaron Sorkin and directed by Danny Boyle.
This is not
A-list
an
talent.
right A-list talent, but this is not an indie movie. It's just following the pattern of Oscar contenders. The movie was originally at Sony, right? They put it on Turnabout. Universal picked it up, and they're doing this platform release. Hopefully that it'll continue to build buzz, and because of the subject matter and who is it about? Steve Jobs. I mean, he still has a presence, even though he passed away. I don't know. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, around there. Whatever. 2 or 3 years ago. Anyway.
Recently.
Yeah, recently. People are still interested about him. They want to know, more about this guy who gave the world the iPhone.
Yeah.
And the iPod.
On Rotten Tomatoes is at 87%. What's the other Steve Jobs movie called?
That was the one by Ashton Kutcher called Jobs.
Yeah, what is it? Oh, just Jobs.
Just Jobs.
That one was poorly reviewed. That one only scored 27% on Rotten Tomatoes.
They brought out the big guns for this movie. Even though it only cost 30 million, they got Danny Boyle, Aaron Sorkin to write it, right? Michael Fassbender, Kate Winslet, all those other guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't say even though they only got 30 million. I think most of these stars, with the exception of Seth Rogen, him and his comedies, the rest of them are kind of indie stars who make a lot of indie movies, and and occasionally they'll guys like Michael Fassbender will do an X-Men. What you have is top indie talent working on a high budget indie movie. Like you said, they brought out the big guns for this indie movie.
Well, but these guys are A-listers, even though they're not like paid A-list level. In the acting world, these guys are
the world A-listers. But like
even in the acting world, they're the A-listers.
Yeah, in the acting world, yeah. In terms of box office draw, I wouldn't, unless Seth Rogen does a comedy, I would say the rest of them are.
Oh right, I'm not talking about box office. I'm talking how well regarded they are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
People admire.
The big guns, like you said, the big guns. In terms of talent.
Right.
The budget is kind of high though. I mean, Steve Jobs is very well known and beloved by some, and not so beloved by his detractors.
Well, he's the guy that every aspiring CEO wants to be. They make people move things a couple of pixels and then move it back just because they want to be like Steve Jobs.
But the first one, Ashton Kutcher, only made 16 million. But that's not that's because it stars Ashton Kutcher. But this one definitely, because like you said, they brought out the big guns. They were expecting more.
Right.
And so far it's looking good for them. 130,000 per screen average is very high.
Yeah, it is.
A great start.
Right, awesome start. But this is one of the movies where they are doing this platform release. Start out with 4. They're gonna give it more and more, just like what you say that Sicario should have done, right? And it's just that let it be in theaters, let people talk about it. And I think because this is Steve Jobs, they really don't need anyone talking about it, really. And they did it and say, hey, high per screen average. Here's the thing, though. Is this a movie that's gonna do big numbers? I think that's the concern. Like we saw some movies like Sicario, right? It did, has a good per screen average when it was in limited release. When it went wide, it didn't do that well.
Although I think this has the potential to do well. I mean, to do better. Mainly because, like you said, they brought out the big guns for this one. You have Danny Boyle, Aaron Sorkin, Michael Fassbender. They make the definitive Steve Jobs movie this is the kind of talent that you want to get.
Yeah.
So I say it has the potential.
Right.
Definitely
Right.
has
So,
the potential.
yeah. So
And
this
the
is the
reviews
movie.
are great. And the Oscar talk is substantial Oscar talk. You know that it will probably get nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and it might win a couple. Who knows?
Right. Right. I'm saying this is the movie to keep an eye on because we don't know how well this movie will do. And of course,
Yeah.
it's going to be a major player, during the award season.
Right. Hey, you know what's interesting? I've been noticing, like, you know how we were talking about how these films from China, when they get released in the U.S., they only make like 20,000 here, 40,000 there.
Hmm.
And we were talking how Bollywood has better in their releases in the U.S. Something is happening with these Chinese films, like Lost in Hong Kong actually made 1.2 million so far, which is very good. I think it's like probably one of the highest grossing films ever released by Welco USA, which is one of the outfits that are purchasing these films from China and releasing them into the US. And I noticed that Goodbye, Mr. Loser, another mainland Chinese film, actually opened decent at 364,000 at 22 theaters screens. For some reason, these films are actually making more money in the US now.
They are making more, but it is still a trickle. Um,
Yeah, it's still a trickle, but it's like compared to 1.2 million compared to like a higher grossing film in the past for Wilco USA is like 60,000. That's a huge amount. Maybe it's the marketing. I'm not sure what they're doing. It seems like they are catching on a little bit. They move beyond just making like 40,000 or 60,000.
I think the problem with Chinese films is the difficulty in securing theaters. So, is it possible that there might be a resurgence in theaters that just cater to the, I guess, Chinese audience?
I don't know. Let me see how many theaters. The same number of screens, only 20 to 30 screens,
Hmm.
but they're making a lot more money. So maybe they're marketing it a lot better now.
I'm not sure if it's marketing. It's
You know,
it's always it's always about the theater count, right? I mean, if no theater is showing it, you can't watch it. That's one thing is if you're a theater owner and
yeah, I get that. But here's the thing: these movies are now making millions, same number of theaters as the movies that are making 40,000 or 60,000. So they haven't increased the theater count, but they're making a lot more money. So I'm just wondering, maybe they finally figured out how to market these films. At first, I thought, whoa, maybe they're releasing it in hundreds of theaters. But when you look at the theater count, it's still only 20 or 30 screens.
I think for those, I suspect it's those independent theaters that want to cater to the Chinese audience, and that's why they're dedicating some screens to it.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of theaters as the ones they had before them.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. It's still the same 20 to 30 theaters.
Right, right. Could be the same
So yeah,
location.
maybe they're marketing them a lot better now.
Perhaps, but
You
marketing
know,
is one point. It's always about I'm saying it's always about securing theaters. If you can't secure the theaters, you can't market.
yeah, but then here's what I'm saying. They secured this. They didn't secure more theaters. Like it's still playing in 20 to 30 theaters, not hundreds of theaters.
Right, right. No, I'm saying
Well,
is you convince.
so what's the difference? So like back then when they were making 40 to 30,000 on 30 screens, now they're making 1 million on 30 screens. If it's securing theaters, you would think that. So it's not like securing theaters because they're still only playing in the same number of theaters.
Yeah,
It's
but
just that they're making more money.
it's also true. But also the Chinese population has increased since then.
In the U.S.,
Yes, people are immigrating over. You see all these big cities. Do you see all these Chinese immigrants coming over?
uh, perhaps, but why they sudden jump though? Like they just suddenly like boom.
Oh, I think it's because
Well,
of all these young people coming over for school, or for whatever. They have money over there and they're sending their kids here. Yeah,
perhaps.
it's true. It's true. You have to trust me on this.
Well, that's what you're putting it at. I'm putting it at perhaps that's one thing, but I'm putting it at maybe they're marketing these films a lot better now. Maybe they finally figure out how to get people to these, even these limited screens?
Yeah, I think it's just the population change. I think more
It
than
couldn't be
anything.
that. It couldn't be that.
It
Well,
is.
I'm curious.
No, seriously, I'm seeing more. I guess like in my area, right? Just this more Asian coming in.
I don't know. Perhaps, but why that sudden change though? Why that sudden like did they just suddenly, like boom? There's suddenly a lot more Chinese people in the U.S.
Well, yeah, I think there's just like some political issues. Like they have money. As long as you have money, you can, pretty much print your ticket to any country. They just donate to a few university. Hey, boom, your child's accepted. That they got, they buy up houses here because they want to get out from China.
I'm curious. It could be that. I'm putting it at marketing.
Marketing can only do so much, but it's really, I think it's the increase in or you know what, or
maybe it could be that they're doing a better job marketing and there are more Chinese people in the US.
It could be, but I'm just saying it. Well, yeah, I guess that the two, you can have one without the other, really, but there is a noticeable change in the makeup of the population.
You go and you go and research that.
I'm not gonna go through the government channel. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's what you're putting in it. But it is kind of interesting though, because you remember how we were saying how Bollywood has been doing so well in marketing their films to Indian audiences in the US. It seems like these distributors of Chinese films are finally figuring it out.
No, I don't think they're figuring. Like I say, it's not they're finally figuring it out. Marketing is easy. It's just that you need the people to market too.
Dude, it's not easy. Pan proves that marketing is not easy.
Well, you still need a good product. That's what Pan proves.
Yeah, you need a good product and you need a good marketing.
Right, you can.
But I wouldn't say marketing is easy. I wouldn't say marketing is easy though. If it's that easy, they wouldn't pour like hundreds of millions into marketing.
No, it's you have to build awareness, okay? But then you still need a product people want,
Yeah.
And Pan is an example of a product no one wants. You still need the product regardless of the marketing. All right.
Right. I'm saying marketing. You're saying influx of Chinese people in the U.S. to universities.
Yes, I'm saying before you can market, you need the people to market too. Let's say 10% of the people will go to see a movie after marketing, right? You need a large number to make that 10% worth it, right? If you have 10% of...
what I'm saying is they've always had that audience. They just didn't know how to get them to theaters. And what you're saying is there's now more of those people that to the US.
Yeah. There are more
visas or whatnot.
Yes, there are more people, and also the important thing, a movie that they want to watch, right?
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Right. We'll leave it at that.
You could be right, or I could be right. Unless we do some research, we'll never know.
Well, I'll try to be right, okay? But I want to say, Lost in Hong Kong is a sequel to a highly regarded movie, and I think did really well, a big hit in China.
Yeah, it is a huge hit in China, but the first one was a huge hit in China too. But the first one, Lost in Thailand, only ended up being like, I don't know, it's like 100,000 here or less. Okay, 60,000. So the Lost in Thailand only ended up making 60,000 in the US. In actually a few more theaters than Lost in Thailand. It was in 35 theaters. Lost in Thailand is only playing in 32 theaters. But Lost in Thailand only ended up making 57,000 total. And Lost in Hong Kong has already made 1.2 million and looks like it will possibly make 2 million. It could be they figure out how to market these films and there are Chinese people immigrating to the US to student visas or whatever.
Right.
But we'll never know and you and I can do some research.
No.
And we're probably too lazy to do that.
Well, no, but we can. We will keep an eye, on these movies, right? I mean, if more pop up, we'll know.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on it because we'll keep an eye on it because it is a huge jump though, from 60,000 to a couple million. Now, in a matter of just a couple years. Yeah, so it is interesting to see what they're doing now. That's different. Okay, should we move on to opening films?
Yes, I think we're done talking about this, and we'll move on to openings. Well, 4 new openings, wide openings this weekend. Let's start with The Bridge of Spies.
Okay, Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. So you definitely have Oscar talk, and like you said previously, these are the big. Although Tom Hanks isn't as big of a draw as he used to be. Whoa! I didn't realize that it's written by the Coen brothers.
Hey, the big guns,
Yeah,
they're not
like you
fooling
said.
around in the fall,
Yeah, right, right. And 91% on the tomato with 33 views, which is pretty good, which is very good.
So Tom Hanks plays
Although,
a lawyer, right, in the movie, and he's trying to defend a Soviet spy during the Cold War.
Yeah, interesting premise because he's defending someone that we think is the enemy, and it takes
and they are the enemy at the time.
it takes a certain amount of courage.
And it's kind of like that movie Philadelphia with Denzel Washington. Tom Hanks also played a lawyer. Kind of hints of that, right? I mean, Denzel Washington, is a guy with AIDS, right? And at that time, AIDS was.
I think you got them mixed. I think you got them mixed up.
Oh, is it Tom? Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, Tom Hanks was the guy with AIDS, and Denzel Washington was the lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Got it. Kind of similar premises about like what people's perception, at the time.
Right, and a lawyer defending, someone that people don't have a good perception of, I guess.
Right.
Or don't, quite understand.
Well, they're at war. It's just that no. Fire.
So what are you thinking? Like, what kind of figures? Like I said earlier, Tom Hanks is no longer the huge draw that he used to be, and Steven Spielberg still can, with the non-sci-fi movies, can still pack an audience.
Hey, it's a Steven Spielberg movie. I think it's going to do 35 to 40.
Oh, you think it's that high? I'm thinking 30, 25 to 30.
Okay, I'm going to go higher. It's as Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, he's always good for something. Ethan Coen.
Oscar time. Yeah, and the Coen brothers,
And this movie is not that dark compared to the one that I think like Child 44 or something like that. It also takes place in like that Soviet era, Cold War era, I think. I'm not sure, but still, I think it's going to do better than 25 to 30. Yeah, 35 to 40.
What do you think the interest level is for this kind of subject matter? I mean, the Cold War or the mainstream audience still that interested in the Cold War?
I think so. I think they want a good thriller. There's always room for a good thriller, and it's not about the Cold War or anything. It's like, Tom Hanks in a thriller, with Steven Spielberg directing, and that alone, and with some people, with some directors and some actors, they don't really care about the subject matter. It's more like the brand itself. It's like, oh, these guys will give me a good movie, regardless of what's it about. They know that it's good, and with Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks, they did the Band of Brotherhood or whatever that TV show. Is it Band of Brotherhood? Or Band of Brothers?
Band of Brothers.
Yeah, so they know they can deliver, these sort of visuals. At least that.
And they did Saving Private Ryan. So.
Right.
Okay, you're going with 30 to 35?
35 to 40. I'm going high on this one. Yeah.
Oh, 35 to 40?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going 25 to 30. All right, let's move on to Goosebumps. So you know what? They're getting surprisingly good reviews. 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, 22 reviews so far. And you know what? The trailer does look kind of fun. I'm actually kind of interested in seeing it. I'm not sure how big Goosebumps as a brand is, but I know that is popular to the junior high crowd, and it does look like a really fun movie. Hey, it's Halloween.
And Jack Black.
Oh, and Jack Black. I could see this being a breakout hit. I could see this doing 35 to 40. And I'll go with 35 to 40, maybe 40.
You could possibly be right. This could be the #1 movie, even beating out Bridge of Spies.
Yeah.
So, because they really can't both be 40, right? Because Bridge of Spies is older. Goosebumps is
older crowd.
Younger family. I might
Yeah.
have to revise
Yeah.
Bridge of Spies a bit. Okay, let's still go high on Bridge of Spies, 35. And Goosebumps,
Okay.
I'll go with you, 40. All
I mean,
right.
the trailer looks pretty good, I thought. It has a fun element and it's Halloween and it.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Night at the Museum, like things coming out of books or coming alive,
Oh,
and
right.
then you have to escape, run around, or Jumanji, or what have you. This in along the same vein as those movies. Like they have to run, chase it, try to get the creatures back into the book. For a
Yeah.
children movie, it's okay, right? But you're gonna have these
Yeah.
elements, these chases, these cool
Right.
creatures, monsters, done in a
It could
jokey
be like
way.
the right movie for the right season. Yeah.
Right, right. And it's not really
Yeah.
a horror movie, right? It's more like an action comedy for children with,
Yeah. For Halloween.
monsters. Yeah.
And speaking of Halloween, a film that's going towards the other end, just trying to scare you. Crimson Peak. Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
I don't know. You start.
I couldn't see this movie
There's
doing
only
better.
2 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and they're both good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't see this doing better than 15.
Yeah, I'm thinking more in the 10 to 15 million range too.
Because even though it's very well produced, you can see that they have all these sets. The scary elements is it. There's just something about this movie that doesn't really draw me in.
Yeah, I have that same feeling too. It's kind of like even a kind of similar feeling to, well, not Pan, but I feel like the interest level may not be that high. Like, oh, I need to see this. The only reason why I have an interest in this is Guillermo del Toro directed it. Woodlawn directed it. Yeah, I'm with you on this, like 10, 15 million. So we kind of agree except for Bridge of Spies.
Right. I probably went high on Bridge of Spies, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. Yeah, you never know.
Okay, and then this other movie, Woodlawn.
Another Christian-themed sports movie.
Yes, Christian-themed sports movie.
Faith-based sports movie.
It's like the perfect combination, really.
But the last one didn't do that well. What's it called? There was another faith-based sports movie that didn't do that well.
Okay. Well, we just skip over that. We just smooth that over. Okay,
Yeah.
we just know that there was another sports movie that didn't do well. And Woodlawn,
recent ones.
right. And Woodlawn is
Yeah.
kind of similar.
With this one, I'm actually going like 2 to 3 million.
I'm kind of want to agree with you there.
Or maybe 1 to 2 million.
Yeah, let's go with 2 as well. Does it seem like there are more Christian themed movies in theaters these days?
It does.
Before it was like only once in a while, but now it seems like every other week.
Yeah. And they couldn't have produced it all because of War Room. Or maybe they already made these movies and they weren't originally intended for theaters, but because War Room did so well, they start throwing it in theaters.
Yeah, these movies takes like 4 to 6 months to make. So it started way back when.
So maybe it was originally intention for home video, but they're like, "Whoa, War Room is doing so well. Let's put these in theaters." Maybe
2 million. I don't really like. I'm not the target audience for this one. It's the same thing with sports movie and Christian theme movie. It's even though if it's not a faith-based movie, it's kind of similar. It's that you have to believe in something bigger than yourself to succeed. That's the thing with sports movie, and they combine it too. All right,
we agree on Goosebumps.
Yeah, even though the thing I don't think we're that far off. I think the dark horse here is really Bridge of Spies. I think it could do. Yeah. It probably could do lower. There's a chance it could do low. Yeah, or higher. But I think the chance of doing lower is actually higher.
Right. Yeah,
because it's that type of movie.
Yeah. And Goosebumps is just kind of, it almost feels like the right kind of movie at this time.
It is, but it has a good brand. There are like thousands and thousands of books, it seems, in the series. I think the people who read it would want to watch it, but again, like how big is that audience? That's the only problem.
Even if
Yeah,
you're not interested in the brand, the trailer makes it seem fun enough for a mainstream audience.
right, right. I mean, the comparison is really like the night, at the museum, with
Mm-hmm.
all these monsters come to life, and from the book, hey, you read
Mm-hmm.
and stay on screen.
Right, right,
So the only question is how big is this? I could see it doing a tad lower.
right,
So
right.
yeah, those
Although
are
I
the
could see
things.
it doing a tad higher too.
That's true. That's true.
But we'll see next week.
All right, then we'll come back next week and see how we did.
All right, see you guys next week.
All right, thanks for listening.